All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the full commission. If you would, please sign in. Thank you. If we could, can we get a roll call, Ms. Wilson, tally the vote, or the, thank you, 11 to 14, we do have a quorum. Everyone should have in front of them the previous minutes, and if you've had an opportunity to look over them, would entertain a motion. Alyssa, mine, I don't have this as the meeting administrator. I'm sure it's something that I did wrong.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Rochelle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it and the minutes are approved. Thank you. Report and communication from the county executive. We have the audit committee meeting minutes that I'd like to share with you all. So the audit committee met January 12, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. The meeting was called to order at 5:30 with a roll call, and the following people were present: Mr. Terry Coleman, Mr. Justin Curtis, Mr. John Hurt, Mr. Van Malone, Mr. Eddie Rochelle, Mr. Danny Wagner, Mrs. Marilyn Phillips, and myself were present. With the requirement of a quorum met, the meeting reviewed the following from the State of Tennessee audit. And the review of the findings from the State Comptroller's Office were that we had one finding countywide, and that was from the County Executive's Office, that competitive bids were not solicited for the purchase of the fire chassis. This goes back to that they used an approved state vendor through Sourcewell, so it was a Sourcewell contract, but we neglected to have a current contract with Sourcewell at that time. It's since been remedied, and obviously we concur with the findings, and we'll make sure that our contracts with approved state vendors are approved beforehand. And these minutes are shared this evening with you for everybody's acknowledgement and to get spread across the minutes of this meeting of the full commission. Next, we have public comment period. Mr. Dan Cox from Halls Creek would like to talk about the secondary haulers for the county. Mr. Cox, if you could please turn on the microphone and
My name's Dan Cox. I live out on Halls Creek. The policy restricting commercial and secondary haulers from using county convenience centers, I'm assuming that this is because they pose some kind of impact as far as cost is concerned. And I was just wondering if there was actually a study done to find out how much they impact, and if it might not be a better idea to do some kind of restriction on people who are not in the county being restricted from, not businesses in the county or residents of the county doing that. And if it's causing that much of a cost drain on it, that it might not be a bad idea to consider spinning it off to a private company to run these convenience centers. And then that way the individuals who are using it will end up paying for it directly. Also, I wanted to comment too about this election commission budget amendment. The Republican and Democrat parties are private entities. They're not government entities. I'm not sure why it is that the county is financing an election by that party or either party to nominate their candidate. I think we could eliminate a whole lot of cost if we just went to straight ballots that had no party affiliation on them at all. That would not only cut out a whole lot of influence and meddling from the larger parties whose say-so about what happens in Humphreys County is really not, relevant. But in addition to saving that money, one of the things that it can eliminate is people voting a straight party ticket, where instead of actually reading the candidates or knowing anything about the candidates, especially the local ones, they just do a straight party ticket. And so if they choose to vote for the Democrat, then the Democrat automatically gets the vote. I think we'd be better served by putting that money and the money that might be put towards the Democrat primary election, again, because these are private entities. These are not government entities. That we should not be funding their process for voting for the candidates that the party is putting forward. These are not necessarily the people that, and this is nothing against the people who are party affiliated. This is not a knock on anybody as far as all of that is concerned, but these party affiliations come with strings attached that don't necessarily benefit the people of Humphreys County. And I think it would clean up everything and make everything much more smooth if we just did straight ballots, names, and no party affiliation. In addition to saving, I don't know how much is spent towards the Democrat primary elections, but again, this is for their own private candidate. We do a public count on it, but in the end, the party is the one who ends up deciding. As I've been educated by a few people, the party can actually disregard the vote and go with a different candidate if that's what they choose, because they only have to count votes from the party members. The party members' votes are the ones that determine who the candidate is going to be. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Cox. That ends the public comment period. So, commissioners, we've had an individual that has decided to challenge the policies that we have set in place at our convenience centers for commercial trash pickup or garbage disposal by what kind of entities. And so, with consultation with Mr. Williams, he has drafted a resolution for your consideration tonight deemed that it was important that we get this covered tonight, and so I'm going to ask that without objection, that we declare that it's by unanimous consent that we dissolve the meeting of the full commission into that of a committee of the whole board for the purposes of discussing this issue. Is there any objections? Then I'll declare this meeting of the commission ended, and we'll reconvene as a commission of the whole board with Mr. Danny Wagner chairing that meeting this evening.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Pagriba. At this time, we will have discussion on this policy restricting commercial waste. I'd ask Colonel Williams, do you have anything you'd like to add? You already have the
I recommend you adopt the resolution.
resolution's been recommended by our legal counsel. All we should have to have is a verbal commitment of someone that would like to make a motion.
If I could, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, I'd like to
Sure.
address this. This is, and I don't want to spring anything on anybody, but, you know, we made these changes back in January of 2025, so it's been, actually, it was before that. It's been several months ago that this policy was adopted, and it's actually gone really, really well at all of our convenience centers. And like I said, we have one individual that wants to make a play on words and what's accepted and what's not accepted. And I want to back up and give you just a little bit of history about, you know, how we came to this point. This is not about the residents of Humphreys County disposing their garbage. This is about people that are abusing a system that we have and using our convenience centers for a fee-free disposal, subsidizing their private business to get rid of waste. And then the issue is the definition of the waste and commercial waste and residential waste, but it's not really an issue because we all know what the intent was and what we did and what we meant to do. And just a little bit of brief history, when this question first came up, we did go to CTAS and TDEC both for expert advice, and the question was about who picks up waste from residents for a fee, and are they able to dispose at convenience centers? And their legal advice is that a convenience center is set up to meet the needs of the residents of the county. That is, waste disposed of by residents, waste collected by commercial haulers, defined below, is no longer the responsibility of the citizen, but contractually becomes commercial hauler responsibility and is required to go to the transfer station. That's their words. You know, basically in a nutshell, and TDEC, Mr. Bart that we spoke to, is our convenience centers were permitted for county residents' household garbage. The permitting of convenience centers are issued meeting minimum requirements, and such regulations consider county population, area, distances, and staffing requirements. And basically our permits are permitted for the residences for their convenient disposal of their household garbage. Commercial operators fill retainers in one shot, requiring container changeouts. They can throw away illicit items and bring out of county garbage, which is one of the issues that we were faced with in the county. So what I'd like to do in an effort of full disclosure and for you all to hear everything, because I can't honestly expect you to have time to read every line item while we pause this meeting in this resolution, but I'm going to. So sit back and enjoy a bowl of popcorn while I go through this resolution that was drafted by Mr. Williams, who is, well, I'll just tell you, my version was 1 page, his is 7 pages. He's an artist of words, and he did a very good job on this resolution that I'm about to share with you, that I think covers all the bases of us for a county and should take out any question what's acceptable at our convenience centers. So if you will, and you're welcome to look at this with me. This is going to be the last item, providing that you all decide to move this forward, is item J. And this is a resolution establishing local operational policies, procedures, and regulations relative to use, collection, and disposal of municipal-type domestic solid waste at convenience centers owned and operated by Humphreys County. Whereas by various enactments of the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee commencing in 1969, it was declared to be public policy of the state to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and to conserve the beauty and quality of the environment, that disposal of solid waste materials be regulated through a statewide coordinated program and plan, hereinafter referred to as the program, utilizing designated planning regions across the state comprised of counties and municipalities charged to develop, implement, and execute individual regional plans as part of the program, which would require meeting minimum standards of the program and be subject to the approval by the Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, the Commissioner. Counties and their incorporated municipalities therein were authorized to consist of a single region within their territorial boundaries of the county. Thus, Humphreys County, Tennessee, the county and its 3 incorporated municipalities of McEwen, Waverly, and New Johnsonville, entered into a cooperative joint plan establishing the county to now constitute a single region under the program to implement our solid waste disposal obligations under the program. And whereas the program has been variously amended from time to time by the General Assembly and is now codified in Chapter 111, Title 68, Tennessee Code annotated. By terms of the program, the Commissioner is empowered to issue administrative rules and regulations to implement and enforce the program, which has been done, and those statewide rules and regulations are codified by the Tennessee Secretary of State. Whereas in lieu of curbside pickup in accordance with the program, the county has constructed, owns, and operates throughout the county multiple attended solid waste disposal sites having receptacles designed and constructed as approved by the Commissioner, which are open to residents of the county to conveniently self-deliver at no cost to themselves their domestic solid wastes, including garbage and trash derived from households, single and multiple residences, hotels and motels, bunkhouses, ranger stations, crew quarters, campgrounds, picnic grounds, and day use recreational areas, collectively being waste materials, for sanitary disposal in accordance with the statutory and regulatory requirements of the program. And whereas the county contracts directly with the private-owned Class 1 landfill facility in nearby Benton County to receive and sanitarily dispose of waste materials delivered from the county and its municipalities, with the county paying the landfill operator charges to accept waste materials based on the volume delivered. Whereas the municipalities operate their respective systems of curbside collection of waste materials from the residents as a municipal service, and at their expense, each delivers waste materials as collected in the municipalities to the Benton County landfill. And whereas the county does not provide curbside pickup service to its residences outside of the municipalities, however, in accordance with the program, the county has multiple convenience centers with reasonable regulated proximity to our residents for them to self-deliver their waste materials, which in turn the county takes and delivers the same to the Benton County landfill, paying the tipping fees. Whereas those residents and commercial businesses outside of the municipalities who want to avail themselves to curbside pickup of their generated waste materials in lieu of self-delivery to a convenience center can do so at their individual cost contracted with the commercial disposal waste service. In such cases, when their generated waste materials are once transferred to the possession of a privately owned commercial hauler, those waste materials are no longer owned by the resident who generated the same, but their waste materials belong to the commercial hauler, who is then obligated to dispose of the same by direct delivery to a permitted Class 1 landfill or lawful disposal, with the commercial hauler paying any tipping fee charged as part of its business operation. And whereas the construction, maintenance, and operation of the convenience center is primarily funded by revenues derived from taxes levied on real and personal property, situated in the county, and thus it behooves the county to limit and restrict the use of convenience centers solely for waste materials generated by our residents who self-deliver the same for disposal as required by law. Our residents who choose to engage in private business to take possession and ownership of their waste materials are free to do so, but it does not become an obligation of our taxpayers to subsidize a private business through saving on transportation costs and payment of tipping fees to accept turnover of its possession and ownership of waste materials at our convenience centers. And whereas to reasonably and effectively assure that delivery of disposal of waste materials into the receptacles of our convenience centers, self-delivery from residents of the county who generated the same, personal recognition by the attendant or presentation of verified identification is essential before the waste materials can be accepted. A truckload of waste materials packed into many bags into a truck presumptively demonstrated as not being delivered by a generating resident, but likely from a third-party commercial fee-based collector hauler, and therefore such waste materials should not be accepted at our convenience centers. Whereas to discourage intentional violations of our regular local regulations relative to use of our convenience centers, it is imperative that we establish and impose monetary civil penalties on such violators. Now therefore, resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Humphreys County, Section 1, Local Regulations on Use and Operation of Convenience Centers. Most of these have not changed, by the way, from what our original plan is. The convenience centers will not accept animals, dead or alive, automotive oils and fluids, or tires. Convenience centers will not accept waste materials generated from a person not a resident of the county, and on request, a depositor will produce satisfactory, valid documentary evidence of such residency. Convenience centers will not accept waste materials not bagged. Convenience centers will not accept more than one load of waste materials per day per driver, and such loads will be limited to no more than 12 garbage bags. That is a new one, by the way, just so we know and we can discuss that. A depositor delivering waste materials will place the same into proper containers as directed by the attendant, and no person will abandon the same without doing so. No waste materials shall be left at a convenience center by a person who is not a resident of the county. No waste materials will be placed into a container not designated for such waste materials. No waste materials shall be deposited for disposal at a convenience center who misrepresents that he or she is a resident of the county. No waste materials will be deposited for disposal at a convenience center when such waste materials were generated and originated at a place other than the county. No waste materials will be deposited for disposal at a convenience center except by the person creating and generating the same, or by a person who is a close relative or neighbor of the person creating and generating the same. No waste materials will be deposited for disposal at convenience center by a person who is not the original generator of the waste materials. No waste materials will be deposited for disposal at a convenience center for disposal by a person or persons in employment of another person who has been paid a fee to collect and deliver waste materials for disposal at a convenience center. Section 2, a knowing violation of the foregoing regulation or misrepresentation relative thereto may be pursued by the county by civil warrant taken out against a violator filed in the General Sessions Court of the county, seeking a judgment for recovery of a civil penalty in the amount of $50 for each separate violation. Section 3, on request of the Director of the Solid Waste Department or other authorized county official or agency, the county attorney is authorized to bring suit in the name of the county against a violator to enforce these regulations, seeking mandatory injunctions prohibiting a person or his or her agents or employees from using a convenience center as a commercial hauler does so for a fee. Folks, it's a lot of language, it's a lot of writing, and I'll say this. We just really haven't had a big problem recently. We remedied it, most of it, but like I said, we have one individual that has decided to challenge this. And this is just clear language. Most of it is what we've already had in place for many, many years. The 12 bags per vehicle, I mean, it's about common sense, folks, and it's about people if they're abusing it or they're not abusing it. And it's clear when you see the certain ones that are abusing that by a mile. So I wouldn't want anyone to panic and think they're not going to be able to bring their household garbage, because they can. We're just trying to avoid taking out of county trash, taking garbage that is under the ownership of a commercial vendor who may or may not have illicits in there. Who knows what's in it, because it's not a residence anymore. It's the commercial haulers. And we're also trying to avoid, when we're the county that accepts everything for free, from having all this stuff brought in from out of county, which was a problem before. So this is tidying up our waste disposal program. With that, I'll yield the floor and open it for questions. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bergreba, for explaining that. Are there questions at this time? If no questions, all we need is a motion to accept. Verbal. We have a verbal by Mr. Hurt. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Malone. Any other discussion? At this time, if you'd like to vote, are we going to vote with tablet?
Mr. Chairman, this is to just move this to the full
full,
commission,
yes.
and then we'll reconvene at the full commission,
Yes.
where this will come up later this evening.
All in favor then, if you just raise your right hand. Thank you. And it is passed, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Mr. Greba to reconvene.
Thank you. Without objection, I'll declare that the committee of the whole adjourned, with its report of proceedings to the meeting of the full board resumed. And I appreciate your patience with that reading. I just felt that it was imperative to get every word of it out to you without expecting you to be able to read it in silence of this meeting. With that, moving on, resolution number 1, number A. And if you, before we do that, I've neglected one other thing. We have a special guest with us this evening. It's Mr. Larry Mayberry's daughter that's here with us tonight. We welcome you. It's Heather Legan. She is the Chief Clinical Officer at Dixon Medical Associates, and we appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
Also, city councilman in McKeon.
And a city councilman in McEwen, so
Yes.
so we recognize your political authority.
And welcome your presence.
All right, first resolution is a resolution to amend the budget of Humphreys County, Tennessee, adopted on June 23rd, 2025 for fiscal year ending June 30, 2026. This is a 101 general fund, account number 39,000, entitled unassigned, is decreased by $31,224. Account 51,500, entitled election commission, is increased by $31,224 in the following line items. Line item 187, entitled overtime, is increased by $2,584. Line item 189, entitled other salaries and wages, is increased by $2,640. Line item 192, entitled election commissioners, is increased by $1,800. Line item 193, entitled election workers, is increased by $9,600. Line item 305, entitled audit services, is increased by $1,600. Line item 317, entitled data processing services, is increased by $8,500. Line item 349, entitled printing stationery and forms, is increased by $4,000. Line item 435, entitled office supplies, is increased by $500. This is for the required primary for political party candidates, as discussed last week. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you, Mr. Bergreba. Yes, this was brought before the administrative meeting, discussed and passed to come before this full commission.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none without objection, we'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote.
Yes.
Seeing that all votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote, please?
11 yeses, 0 noes.
Thank you. 11 yes, the resolution passes. Thank you. Next item, a resolution to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development for acceptance of a 3-star grant to amend the budget of Humphreys County, Tennessee. Whereas the State of Tennessee, by and through the Department of Economic and Community Development, offers financial assistance to Humphreys County in the amount of $75,000 with no match from the county for financial support and funding a community development grant. It is proposed to enter into a grant contract, project period beginning February 16, 2026 and ending February 15th, 2029. This is a 101 general fund budget amendment. Count 46-190 entitled Other Government Grants is increased by $75,000. Account 39,000 entitled Unassigned is increased by $3,750. Account 58-190 entitled Other Economic and Community Development is increased by $66,250. Account 58-190 entitled Other Economic and Community Development is increased by $5,000. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Bergriba. Yes, this was brought before the Administrative Council meeting, discussed and moved to this commission meeting on full voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote, please?
Yes, we have 11 yeses, 0 noes.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With 11 yes, the majority, the resolution passes. Item C. A resolution to amend the budget of Humphreys County, Tennessee, adopted June 23, 2025 for fiscal year ending June 30, 2026. This is a 101 general fund budget amendment, account number 44570 entitled Contributions is increased by $12,400. Account 39,000 entitled Unassigned is increased by $11,000. Account 58-190 entitled Other Economic and Community Development is increased by $1,400. At line item 355 entitled Travel, this is the Corrections Reentry Reinvestment Grant that we discussed last week. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Bergriba. Yes, this was brought before the Administrative Council meeting, discussed and passed to move to this full commission on voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. I understand now the one that did not vote is me. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote, please?
We have 11 yeses and 0 noes.
Thank you. With 11, the resolution passes. Next is item D. And all of you all have a copy from the Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury, Mr. Jason Mumpower, that we need to acknowledge and get put in the minutes of this meeting, that you all have received this letter from the Comptroller's office in regards to the $2,407,000 refunding of the Public Building Authority Loan Agreement, Series 2026. This report is effective for a period of 90 days from the date of the report, and if the refunding transaction has not been priced during this 90-day period, a new plan of refunding with new analysis and estimates based on market conditions at that time would need to be submitted. So right behind that comes the resolution, which is as follows. It's a resolution authorizing a refunding loan pursuant to a loan agreement between Humphreys County, Tennessee and the Public Building Authority of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee in the principal amount of not to exceed $2,407,000 for the purpose of providing funds to pay and refund that certain outstanding loan heretofore entered into the county, authorizing the execution and delivery of such loan agreement and other documents relating to said loan, approving the issuance of the bond by such public building authority, providing for the application of the proceeds of said bond and loan, and the payment of such indebtedness, and consenting to the assignment of the county's obligations under such loan agreement. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Humphreys County, Tennessee has heretofore incurred indebtedness for the purpose of financing a portion of the cost of the school system projects necessitated by the Trace Creek flooding disaster of August 2021, including the acquisition and renovation of a retired manufacturing plant for the use of temporary facilities for approximately 1,100 elementary and junior high school students displaced by the flood, including the construction of playgrounds, a gymnasium, a cafeteria, and kitchen for such facility, the replacement of 15 school buses lost in the flood, and the repair of the high school athletic fields, parking lots, and roadways damaged by the flood, the demolition and disposal of the flooded elementary and junior high schools, flood mitigation of the high school campus, and acquisition of land for replacement elementary and junior high schools, the repair of the alternative school, and the repair of the retaining wall at McEwen Elementary School, and to pay costs incident to the loan by the execution and delivery of that certain loan agreement dated March 10, 2023, to the Public Building Authority of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, First Federal Bank Dixon, in the original amount of $4,500,000. Whereas the 2023 loan is currently outstanding in the principal amount of $2,360,817.93, which principal matures March 1, 2026, together with an interest payment due to at the maturity date for the outstanding indebtedness. Whereas the 2023 loan is general obligation debt to the county, provided, however, that the county expected at the time of the 2023 loan was entered into to pay a portion, if not all of the 2023 loan from FEMA/TEMA funds. Whereas the county expects to receive additional FEMA/TEMA funds in the amount sufficient to pay all or a substantial portion of the new loan. Whereas the county desires to enter into a new loan for a term of 3 years to allow time to apply for and receive additional FEMA/TEMA funds to pay the new loan, and the proceeds of which will be used to pay the outstanding indebtedness on the maturity date of March 1, 2026, together with interest to such date, and pay costs in connection with the new loan. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Humphreys County, Tennessee, as follows. Approval of a loan for the purpose of providing funds to pay the outstanding indebtedness and to pay costs incurred in the connection of the issuance of the bond and loan and the proceeds thereof to the county, of the loan to the county by the authority, is hereby authorized in the principal amount not to exceed $2,407,000, and the county is hereby authorized to borrow such funds from the authority. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Bergreve. This was brought before the Administrative Council meeting, discussed, passed, moved to this full commission meeting on a voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote?
Yes, sir, we have 11 yes, 0 no's.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With the majority vote, the resolution passes. Next resolution, item E. Do you want me to read that whole thing again, or? No, I'm kidding. Okay, this is a resolution authorizing a loan pursuant to loan agreement between Humphreys County, Tennessee, and the Public Building Authority of the City of Clarksville, Tennessee, in the principal amount of not to exceed $2,146,430, authorizing the execution and delivery of such loan agreement and other documents relating to said loan, approving the issuance of a bond by such public building authority, providing for the application of the proceeds of said loan and the payment of such indebtedness, consenting to the assignment of the county's obligation under such loan agreement, and certain other matters. This is a balance that was unused of $2,139,182.07, plus the issuance expense of $7,074.21. And I'm going to skip. This is all the same as the very last one that I read aloud. So, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Bergreve. Yes, this was brought for administrative committee meeting, passed on a full voice vote to come to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote, please?
We have 11 yeses, 0 no's.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With the majority, the resolution passes. Item F. A resolution to accept a grant award from the Tennessee Risk Management Trust and to amend the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Whereas the State of Tennessee Risk Management Trust has extended an offer of a grant in the amount of $4,772 under the Safety Grant Program to provide financial assistance to the county for the purchase of life jackets and safety rope. Fund 122 Drug Fund entitled 46290 and other public safety grants is increased by $4,772. Account 54150 entitled Drug Enforcement is increased by $4,772 at line item 716 entitled Law Enforcement Equipment. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Bergreve. Yes, this is brought before the administrative council meeting, discussed, passed, moved to this full commission on voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote?
Yes, we have 11 yeses, 0 no's.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With the majority vote, the resolution is passed. Next, item G. A resolution to enter into a grant contract with the State of Tennessee and Tennessee Department of Safety for acceptance of the T-Dot Litter Grant for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, ending June 30, 2026. Whereas the State of Tennessee, by and through its Tennessee Department of Transportation, offers financial assistance to the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $44,200 for the financial support in the funding of a proposed participation in a litter pickup and litter prevention education. It is proposed to enter into a grant contract for the project period beginning July 1, 2025, ending June 30, 2026. This funding has already been budgeted. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Bergreve. Yes, this is brought before the administrative council meeting, discussed, brought to this full commission on voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote?
We have 11 yeses, 0 no's.
Thank you. With the majority vote, the resolution passes. Item H is a resolution establishing parameters by which department obligations will be undertaken by the county and reinforcing a commitment by the county and its officials to manage financial affairs to minimize risks and avoid conflicts and ensure transparency while still meeting capital needs. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Pagruba. Yes, this is brought before the administrative council meeting, was passed to this full commission on voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote?
We have 11 yeses, 0 noes.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With the majority vote, the resolution passes. Item I. A resolution to declare items as surplus. Be it resolved by this county legislative body in session assembled that Humphreys County declares the items below of Humphreys County property as surplus and authorize disposal as such. First item is a 2000 Mack tandem dump truck, Fund 131 Highway Fund. Second item is a 2000 Mack tandem dump truck, Fund 131 Highway Fund. Third item is a 1998 Chevrolet C3500 Crew Cab, Fund 131 Highway Fund. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Pagruba. Yes, it was brought before the administrative council meeting, discussed with the type of disposal, which will be at a public auction, I believe, and then passed to this full commission on voice vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, could you tally the vote?
11 yeses, 0 noes.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With the majority vote, the resolution passes. Item J. This is a resolution establishing local operational policies, procedures, and regulations relative to use, collection, and disposal of municipal-type domestic solid waste at convenience centers owned and operated by Humphreys County. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Pagruba. Yes, this was brought before the administrative council meeting today, passed to be moved to this commission.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, without objection, I'll call for a vote. Commissioners, please select your vote. Seeing that the votes are cast, Ms. Wilson, please tally the vote.
11 yeses, 0 noes.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. With a majority vote, the resolution passes. Do we have any other business? We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Second, Ms. McClanahan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for being here this evening.